All right, what's up? And welcome to the live stream. So today we're going to be finishing our benchmarks for the Alienware X17. Let's make sure your audio is good. And then we'll go ahead and set this to public. So just give me a moment and then we'll get started as long as everything's good. Testing, testing. So just give me a moment. All right, audio sounds good. All right. Okay, so it's actually already set to public. So this is very good. Let's see if we get some people hopping in. Sweet, we got some people hopping into the live stream. Perfect. What's up, everybody? Cool, cool, cool. Hi, hi, hi. So in this benchmark session, let's just go over all the things we're going to be testing today. So in the last one, this is part 2 of the Alienware X17 benchmarking session. In the last one, we tested Time Spy, Firestrike, Port Royale, Cinebench R20, R23. We undervolted the machine. We saw big performance gains when we undervolted the i9. We did not get to test Warzone, Apex Legends, Fortnite, Watch Dogs Legion. We also didn't test Flight Simulator. I think that's everything that we need to test. Oh, and Valorant. So those are the things we'll be testing for today. So about I think that was 6 or 7 games, and then yeah, that's the goal for today's live stream. So feel free to ask any questions. Did I get the X17? I did not yet get that order of the X17 in. So let us dive right into it. Okay, let me know if there's any issues with the stream chat. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and plow ahead. I did go ahead and open each of these games except for Valorant earlier today just to make sure that everything is working. So, and installed, because that was the problem last time. We had to stop the live stream because several things needed basically a full update. All right. So let's start with, let's go down the list. I believe it's Warzone. Warzone first. Here we go. So we're going to go ahead and exit all of the things that are not applicable for this. And then we will just log back into those things as needed. We want to try to optimize our frame rates as much as possible, like any of those hardcore gamers out there would. Did I get a haircut? Yes, I did today actually, but it's just the normal styling haircut, nothing really different. Okay, so you can see we're not overclocked at all on the RTX 3080. So you can probably get like a 5 to 10% performance boost if you overclock. And then let's just check to see if we have an undervolt applied right now. Though I don't think we do. I think the goal for today is probably no undervolt. Though if I were ever recommending people to use this laptop, I would definitely typically recommend at least a minor undervolt. So like at least a 0.05 undervolt. But yeah, so you can see no undervolt going on right now. And exit that. Okay, let's go ahead and load up Warzone. What's up, Geeky Dude? Welcome to the stream. What's up, DJ Flippy? What's up, Abel? So I'm really excited to see how we do in these highly CPU-bound games, or at least some of these are very CPU-bound, like Warzone can be extremely CPU-bound in certain areas. So let's see how the i9 handles, the game. So overall, I've been very impressed with the X17's performance. Sadly, the CPU temperatures are very high. It's not necessarily a deal breaker, but you're likely to see thermal throttling sooner than ideally anticipated. I think it's really like 1 to 2 cores that are heating up a lot. so it's probably like an uneven thermal paste application on this particular laptop. Um, we're still getting good performance despite that. We're still getting great performance, best CPU performance I've ever seen in a laptop. We're still getting that. So it's not necessarily like I said, it's not a deal breaker. It's just for me being like an idealized like person that wants to get the maximum performance out of any laptop that I own. I'm always trying to get like, the very best, and it's just sad to me that this is not like the optimal perfect CPU paste, especially considering they have like the new CPU paste that they're using, the new technology. It sounds so cool, but then it's like if it's not applied properly, you're still not going to get the best results. All right. So I think the main thing I'm trying to say is that I think depending on how the actual CPU paste is applied, you might actually see lower temperatures than what I'm getting. Also, I just remembered that we need to set the Alienware Command Center to full throttle mode. Let me go ahead. So that what that does is just sets the fans to max. Okay, let's go and open the Alienware Command Center up. No Name says, I want this, but the 4K 120 hertz is not my cup of tea. Yeah, I'm just running it at I'm running at 120 hertz QHD is what I'm doing. But I would much prefer to have a QHD 240 hertz display. I hope Alienware offers that display option sometime in the future. Okay, so we're on thermal, full speed now, and high performance for the power profile. No battery saver. Very nice. Okay, I think we're ready to do this now. Jack Gavin says, is it best to hook up a gaming monitor to the laptop? In this case, I would argue it's just going to depend on what game you're playing. If it's a GPU bound game, you won't see any performance gain or very, very minimal performance gain. If you are playing a very CPU bound game, then you'll see a varying level of performance uplift. Basically, you're bypassing the integrated GPU when you hook it up to an external monitor. And the integrated GPU can be a bottleneck in certain titles, but that mainly happens at 1080p resolution and not QHD or 4K. Though some games like CSGO will still be CPU bound even at 4K. That's extremely rare, though. How long does the battery last during normal use? So I drained the battery one time already, and it was lasting about 4 to 5 hours of me writing the review out. At least that was what the estimated battery life was like. Okay, so let me get this thing situated correctly. That looks good. Let me go ahead and just double check everything. That all looks good. So we are right now playing at QHD resolution, just to show the settings. Full screen, 120, QHD, 1440p. Everything's set to low right now. All right. And it's really set to low. Like the textures are not really loading in even. There we go. So we're going to start off with just sitting up here. And we're going to do a little frame rate check real quick. All right, so 124 FPS, and this is a QHD, right? Now keep in mind, this is the training mode, so this is less demanding than certain areas of the game, especially when you have real players and you're in a very complex like downtown environment. Okay, so 124.57. Let me go ahead and put that in for QHD. There we go. QHD 124.59. Okay, and then we're going to also check a map, checking out a match. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and switch the resolution down to, I might as well just do 1080p and 4K here. So here's 1080p. So you can see we're getting a big uplift in our FPS, 153, 109, and that's very good considering we're not bypassing NVIDIA Optimus right now. Does this laptop get thermal throttled? That's a good question. It's going to depend on what you're doing. Pretty much all laptops will throttle in some way or another. So 152, 76, and then let me just go ahead and do 4K real quick as well before we have to switch out of here. 4K. Okay, so we're at 4K and doing 7940, 7942. Okay, so 4K 79 QHD. And full HD, okay? And then we're gonna go solos, and we're gonna do this again. But let's go ahead and go kill some people real quick. So keep in mind, we are playing right now at 4K, but I would typically play at QHD, I think, with this laptop. So let me go ahead and I'll just play with 4K for right now. So we were talking about thermal throttling, right? So the way laptops work, basically, you will either be power limit throttled because the manufacturer has set the. And it's interesting. Our textures aren't really loading in right now, but basically, you'll either be power limit throttled, thermal throttled, or basically super thermal throttled. Typically speaking, most laptops are either power limit throttled or thermal throttled, though. And if the manufacturer, for example, if Alienware had set the power limit on this to be very low, then we would be power limit throttled. But Alienware set the power limit very high, so it has the potential to thermal throttle, basically push all of the potential of the laptop that it can. And I'm glad they did that, but I'm just pointing that out because some manufacturers will basically power limit the laptop to the point where it doesn't even have an opportunity to thermal throttle, really. Right, so this is not so basically what I'm saying is if you wanted to say target lower temps, you could just power limit throttle it by like reducing the power limit by a little bit or reducing the target temperature down to, let's say you wanted to keep it under 80, you could just set the temperature where it procs throttling down to 80. I only have 7 shots here. Oh goodness. We need another gun. Chris Johnson, hey, how do you feel about the Valve Steam Deck? I ordered one. I want to do a review on it for sure. I think it's going to be pretty freaking cool. I don't know. I think it is going to be a competitor for like casual gamers compared to like say like they have a desktop and they're like, should I get a gaming laptop or a Steam Deck? And I think some people will be like, I'd rather just get a Steam Deck, you know. And I think it's going to be one of those things that's like if you have a low budget anyway, let's say you're just going to get like $1,000 laptop or less, it might be competitive with like the low end. But the thing is, it's not going to be like, it's not going to replace a true gaming laptop because the The resolution is only 800p, so 1280 by 800, and then the refresh rate on the display is only 60. And the battery life when you're actually playing games says it can be as low as only 2 hours. So kind of makes sense if we're dealing with laptop hardware. Laptop hardware uses tons of battery. It's not like an iPad or a smartphone where they're just sipping the watts. You're just gonna, if you're pulling like 15 to 30 watts of power on a very tiny battery in the Steam Deck, it's going to kill it very quickly. All of that said, I still think it's a really cool idea, and I want to test it out. And it's much cheaper, right? So if you're just like a casual gamer, I feel like that's kind of the draw of it. Is like if you're a casual gamer, it's going to be pretty awesome. Yeah. Sweet, glad you're reviewing it. I heard that if you use an external monitor, it can run 120 FPS. Well, it might even be able to go higher than 120 FPS with the Steam Deck potentially. Um, so we're going to do solos. So it just depends on the game, really. And then if you're hooked up to like a wall outlet, like the Steam Deck should do pretty sweet. Should be able to um, ramp the performance up a little bit, higher. It replaces a switch, in my opinion. Have I tested both the X15 and X17? If so, which do you prefer so far? So, Crest, I would say the X17 is definitely more for the high performance seeking people, where the X15 is more for the portability seeking people. But the problem is the X15 still weighs a lot, so it's like this weird, like thin profile, but is still heavier. But I'm definitely more of a performance seeking person, so that said, I do like balancing portability and performance. But the weird thing is like the X15 weighs as much as some like 16 or 17-inch laptops, while at the same time having a lower TDP on the GPU. So yeah, I'm upgrading from a GF65 to a Strix G17 with Ryzen 9 and 3060. Is the G17 an excellent option for the money? I think it is, Wesley Lewis. I think the only thing you got to keep in mind with those Asus Strix G17 laptops is um, the display. The display can be a bit lower on the how you say quality side. Like the really budget oriented Strix laptops can be pretty budget displays. So like lower color gamut and maybe only 60 or 144 hertz refresh rate. But there might even be ghosting. So just look at any reviews of the display, and if you get a 300 hertz display model, you're pretty much safe. It's going to be a good display. But the 144 hertz display options, it's going to be a mixed bag. So let me see here. What resolution are we at right now? All right, we are running QHD. Okay. All right. So we're looking at QHD performance on this. Come on. I don't think I hit that guy once. Ghost Grown Medicine. Overall, how are you liking the laptop? So I've been waiting to do this live stream, honestly, before using the laptop too much, because I want to get all of this done before I start installing all the stuff that I normally would use on the laptop. So I've only used the laptop a little bit out of the couple of live streams I've done. Overall, I've been very impressed with the performance of the laptop. It's just, I just wish it had a mux switch in it or advanced Optimus, even the 4K model. It's not a deal breaker for most games, though, but for certain games, it'll definitely impact performance. I really wish our resolution I mean, we should be able to run on. I run everything on very low, but this is different than what I normally see. Like the resolution of the display and textures and everything usually is not so blurred out. They changed the game settings a little bit or something because usually at least the basics of all the models and everything are loaded in. Because Warzone is one of those games where they're constantly developing and changing the game. So compared to the last time I ran Warzone, this is definitely a little bit different. Okay, so we got a gun in case we need to defend ourselves. But overall for QHD, these are some pretty spicy FPS right here. (105 FPS on average so far. All right, let's go ahead and see what we do running down this road. All right. What are my thoughts on ray tracing, and do you think it's worth the performance cost? Personally, I really like ray tracing options in games. Um, I think for competitive games, it's usually not worth the performance trade-off, but in non-competitive games, it's probably worth the trade-off. Okay, so QHD we got 9374. Let's go ahead and put that in. So solos. So 4K QHD and full HD. QHD was it 9374? All right. Change the resolution. Boom. All right, 1080p. So you'll see that the FPS difference is not going to be massive here because we're very CPU bound in this part of the game. It'll be up a little bit, but not a huge difference. Like maybe like 10, 15 FPS, something like that. All right, here we go. So you can see the performance difference compared to running in the training zone where we are largely GPU bound in the training zone versus here we're very CPU bound. 104.78. And then let's do 4K. I'm very curious how this does 4K in this area, though I'm guessing we're going to get, ooh, yeah. Okay, so around 70-ish right now. Let's see what we get when we turn around. Okay. Noticing some screen tearing. Okay, so we're getting right around 60 at 4K. Yeah, you definitely wouldn't want to play this game at 4K, I don't think, because it's a competitive shooter anyway. You want as many frames per second as you can get. So 60, 41. This is a game where I would even consider potentially dropping down to 1080p. Okay, let's try switching to QHD and try running everything on max settings. So all right, we're gonna just set everything to max. So this also turns on DLSS. That may affect our performance as well. I'm never going to turn on depth of field or motion blur. Those are things I will never play with or recommend to anyone to use. Okay. You probably said this already. How much is this device? So I mentioned this a lot in part one of this benchmarking session, but I have not mentioned it in this live stream so far. This laptop costs about 3,800 approximately, plus tax and shipping. Okay. All right. Here we go. It didn't reset. Okay. So just taking a look at this, you can see that we're not hitting very high GPU utilization, 77%, which means that we are largely CPU bound. And also notice that we're only hitting 60% utilization. This is definitely going to be improved if we had a mux switch. So 8460 if we have everything on high settings. So just for everyone that's curious, let's go ahead and just see if we can shoot someone here. This is obviously very responsive and very playable at these settings. It's not like you can't play this game with these settings, but it's just not going to be, in my mind at least, the ideal way to play this game. I've got to go towards the circle. I'm considering these are max settings at QHD. I feel like this is some really good FPS, but it's not. The thing is, it's not dramatically higher than what I would be getting with my Scar 15. It is pretty similar-ish, the same ballpark of, and if you're going to spend this much on a laptop to get the extra performance, that's where having that mux switch is just like very good for games like Warzone. I'm hoping I can get find a player to shoot at, but hey, we found someone. I only have the basic gun here, so. Oh hey, wait, what? It says there's another vehicle in front of me, but I don't see it. Is it further away than I thought or something? Hey, did someone get in my vehicle and drive off now? The heck? Wait. Hey, this guy maybe left me a good gun. All right, we got someone. Exciting. This guy has a sniper. I'll take it. Jack Evan, how do you get to show FPS and GPU temps in MSI Afterburner? So check out my previous live stream when I do the live unboxings, and I just go through all the steps and how I do it. But there's like a bunch of settings you turn on and you enable to be shown, basically. This is just dangerous right here, running out in the open. Someone's gonna snipe me. I gotta say, this is running beautifully. Oh, I'm dead. Dude, I'm considering grabbing a 2019 Blade 15 due to the price I found and form factor. Want to be able to use it for college. It is an i9-11980HK. Going to be an issue in a few years. It's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be terrible, but I think isn't that a 6-core? So only being a 6-core, you're already gonna have reduced performance compared to like an 8-core laptop like this one in Warzone. So games like Battlefield 5 and Warzone that use multiple cores, you'll be basically giving up some FPS, and then in kind of rendering things like DaVinci Resolve or Adobe Premiere Pro or Handbrake, stuff like that. You're also going to lose some performance there. I don't have the ability to hear where my opponent is. Oh, got me. Okay, cool. So you can see that we're getting very spicy CPU temperatures. Like I said, one or two of the cores just get really hot. The most of the cores are probably only at like 78, 80 degrees, but 1 to 2 cores are like, about 8 degrees warmer, it seemed like, during our initial testing. So definitely keep in mind that this is showing the hottest CPU core. That said, you will get thermal throttled on a per core basis as well. So yeah, okay. So there's Warzone for you. Overall, this is obviously going to play the game great, especially if you drop down to 1080p. Set everything on like low medium settings. You're going to get close to that 120 FPS cap. But know that in games like Warzone, I feel like you're definitely not getting your money's worth because you don't have Advanced Optimus or a Mux. All right. Games don't use all the cores. Software developers take into account not everyone has that many cores. So Maliki27. So not all games will use all the cores, but certain games like Warzone will. It scales with the number of cores. Like Warzone runs better on like a 16-core CPU, for example, than it does on an 8-core or a 6-core or a 4-core. So it just depends, though. It's highly variable. Okay, so Apex Legends is next. Now I had a request in the last stream to test this on an external monitor as well. So let me grab that real quick. CT Saw 7, are you impressed with the thermals on the X17 and do you think you'll get the X15 soon? I did put an order for the X15. I haven't got it yet. Am I impressed with the thermals on the X17? Yes, I am, in the sense that the thermals on this machine they set the power limits super high, and we're getting really good CPU and GPU performance overall in such a thin machine. That's the part that I'm really impressed with. The thing that's not as impressive is, I mean, this is Intel. Intel also just runs really hot. Just the overall temperatures are very spicy on this machine. Not necessarily that that's like a terrible thing. I always prefer to have my temperatures be lower. Look at that. We're hitting 100 degrees Celsius right there, 96, 90, and then we're running on max fans, right? So, I mean, we're pulling a lot of watts through the CPU, though. You can see we're pulling over 85 watts. A lot of laptops can't even go this high for wattage. We're going 86 watts. Like my Scar 15 only goes up to 80 watts of sustained power through the CPU on a CPU only load. That's like if you're just using the CPU. On a dual load, it only goes up to like 54 watts. So this is very insane level of power going through the CPU. It's just very high temperatures at the same time. It's high power and high temps at the same time. Would you recommend getting the GP66 3080 11th gen Jack Black? Yes, I would. I think that's a very good bang for the buck machine at like $2,300. Very, very good performance for your money. And the 3070 is probably just a little bit better performance for your money, but the 3080 still scales pretty well with that laptop, I think. And because you have the Mux and the 11th gen, you're just going to get really great performance all around. Okay. Let's grab that external monitor real quick. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Here we go. That wasn't 100 degrees Celsius in the pause menu, Bradley. That was 100 degrees during the loading menu. So, okay. We are plugged in to an external monitor now. But actually, let's go ahead and do the test on the internal monitor first because we're already set up for the internal monitor for the camera and everything. All right. I have to say I got my X17 Friday, and they are coming to put a new battery in. Kind of sucks, but they're going everything for free. Okay. Well, that does suck, but at least they're. How was the support experience getting everything set up for the your what do you want to call it? Your support appointment. Like, how did you have to wait on the line very long to get the support done, taken care of? Okay. So we're going to go into the firing range. Here we go. Ooh, an Alienware laptop. How many kidneys does it cost? LOL, Primrock, you're hilarious. I would say about two families worth. Oh, we didn't take off our FPS limit yet, so we're gonna have to exit. I mean, I wouldn't say 100 degrees Celsius is scary hot. It just it just means that it's going to get thermal throttled. Laptops have been running at 100 degrees Celsius for a long, long time. The downside is as the thermal paste degrades, you're going to get slightly more thermal throttled over time. That's to me the number one downside. Okay, we need to go origin, and we need to go to our launch settings. FPS underscore max. I believe that's the command. Let me just go ahead and double check. Oh my gosh, my eye is so itchy. Okay. Apex Legends FPS Max. FPS plus FPS Max, not minus, plus FPS Max. I believe 99.99 is probably the way to go. Let's go ahead and exit that. Okay, let's try loading the game again. Cool, cool. Is it safe to always update ASUS software? Um, so just like any manufacturer, sometimes when they release software that has a bug in it or is imperfect in some way. So generally speaking, I think it's safe to upgrade to the latest everything for any manufacturer, and that would typically, like the general answer is yes, unless there's a specific reason that you think some update is not a good idea, like you've heard that update or that BIOS or whatever is buggy in some way, then you might want to back things up first, or you know what I mean. So. Just returned my Alienware M15 R5 3060. Lots of bad reviews. People say it's not worth even with the price tag of $1179. What did you think of it? Did you have any issues with? And I think it comes down to supply, demand, and performance and pricing. Because I think a lot of people we're looking at like I think there was a handful of like for example Legion 5 Pros or um, Legion 5s that had like exceptionally good pricing, but then it's like you can't actually get the Legion 5 for that price, you know. Um, so it's something to keep in mind that I think a lot of people were basing a lot of the recommendations on like how much you could potentially get a Legion 5 Pro for or a Legion 5 for, and then it was like in the wild, you'll never actually find a laptop at that price because only like 10 were sold at that price on this one website at a specific time. Just an example. Yep, the heat, it's like a stove. Looking for another laptop. Gotcha. So it just ran really hot in your laptop or in your lap or like the keyboard or the keys, the wrist rest. I haven't done my full benchmarks with my Alienware M15 R5 yet. So, okay. So looking at the performance in the firing range. We're going to do the firing range, and we're going to do this to measurably test the difference with the external monitor or not. You can see we're getting right now 205, 132. Go ahead and record this. Man, the Warzone line got really long today. Let me just reduce the length a bit. There we go. Okay. All right. So we might need to do two lines for Apex Legends because we're going to do training ground, QHD. I think this is, let me just make sure. Yeah, we're at QHD right now. Okay. So this will be, the second line will be with an external monitor. All right. So QHD, let's go and just reset this, let it run for a moment. We're at, yeah, let's let that run for a moment. Okay. Hi, planning to purchase tomorrow either the X17 3080 or the M17 3080. Any thoughts on which is better overall? $250 price difference between the two as both have discounts. I think whichever one you get, it depends on what games you play and whether you value the display improvement of the X17, what display you're going to get on, what display you'd get on either one, what CPU you're going to get on either one. There's so many different factors between the two of them. I think for most, I think it just depends on the. Yeah, I'd have to know more about the specific specs and pricing, but I think I would tend to lean towards people recommending to more people to get the M17 if you're a price conscious person. If money is no object, then I would say to lean towards the X17. Uh, you know, if that makes sense. So it just depends. Okay, so we got 192, 130 after like a good while here. Okay, so 192, 130. All right, let's go ahead and drop this down to 1080p. Okay, that's a big performance jump. Again, we're running 120 FPS in this on this display anyway, so our 120 hertz. So, and our even our 1% low right now is higher than that. I think it was our 1% low was 130 at QHD, so even higher than that in QHD as well. Of course, keep in mind this is in the training zone, and you will have less FPS in most of the map in the open world, but certain areas you might get this high of FPS, but it just depends. Okay. So full HD, we're getting 280, 178. Okay. Let's go ahead and try the external monitor, see how this goes. Hey Gizmo, do you use or recommend any cooling pad? I currently don't use any cooling pad. I think most of the benefits that you get from a cooling pad can be had simply by placing something underneath the laptop to increase the airflow potential. Most cooling pads will work about the same though. So, though some of the cooling pads with, like, say, an active fan might do a little bit better or a little bit worse, but I know Jared's tech. Jared did some reviews comparing a bunch of cooling pads. So, okay. Here we are. We're on an external monitor now. Let's see if we get any kind of FPS improvement or decline. And keep in mind, I think we may see more of a change in FPS in the actual match than in this mode as well. We probably need to go ahead and restart the game. Specs are the same. i7 RTX 3080, 32 gigs RAM. DJ Blackwing, is it the same i7? Isn't the M17 a 10th gen Intel? Or is there a 11th gen? When can we expect the Intel 11th gen undervolting guide? Watching from the GP66, I bought it. Thanks for your live streams. So Mike Benjamin, the basics of the undervolting, I can explain it real quick. This is just, I guess, a band-aid until I actually get time to do the full overview. But you either want to use Intel XTU or alternatively use throttle stop. And what you want to do is you usually want to start with an undervolt of about minus 0.08 or point. You either go aggressive and see if it works, or you can start at like 0.05 where it's most likely going to work. And then you can adjust. If it's not stable at 0.05, you might have to reduce down to say 0.04, 0.03. But then once you've got it stable and working, you'll want to. Looks like our FPS cap is 300 no matter what we do, I believe, in this game. So it's not going to be a very good test for testing this mux out. At QHD, it'll be more of a valid test, I suppose. But it looks like we're going to hit that 300 FPS cap no matter what we do. So once you've found a stable voltage, you want to go up from there. So basically, you'd like, if it's stable at 0.05, then maybe go up to 0.06, 0.07. And if you want to see me undervolting, you could actually look at my last benchmarking live stream of the Alienware X17, and I went through and undervolted the X17 and found a a mostly stable voltage. I think it was 0.07, I believe. It was completely stable in Cinebench at least, and the question is it stable in all the different games and applications you use? Alex Ramirez says, Gizmo, shout out from Mexico. Love your videos. I bought the Asus Tough Dash F15, but it was only 8 gigs and 3050. My question is, they say that it is better to upgrade the 8 gig instead of 16 gigs so RAMs match. So, Alex, the main thing is you want to have a dual channel memory. So you have, you know, you can have two 4 gig sticks, and that might outperform, say, a single 8 gig stick. But basically, dual channel memory is one of the most important things. Having up to 16 gigs is also very useful. Most games won't use beyond 16, though. Let's see here. So undervolting is not that hard. Just use XTU. So yeah, the other thing I was going to mention about undervolting is if you use something like Intel XTU, you may not be able to get the settings to stick, especially with an Alienware, because Alienware Command Center conflicts with Intel XTU. So I had to use throttle stop to get it to stick on every restart. Okay, so Apex Legends Training Ground, full HD. We're doing 299, 215. Okay, and that's 300 FPS cap. So we're hitting the cap. We previously we were doing 280, so we were not hitting the cap before. So we don't know how much FPS potential we're losing there. Let's go ahead and switch the resolution up to 1440p. All right. Let's go ahead and measure this guy. So previously on the internal display, we were doing 192 at QHD. It looks like we're doing 244 now. So that's about a 50 FPS increase. 245, 246. I'll just give it another little bit. Me so dumb. I'm looking to buy a gaming laptop on Amazon, but everything seems overpriced. Yeah, Amazon is not a very good place to buy a gaming laptop these days. A lot of scalpers on Amazon. If you're in the market to try to find a laptop, I would encourage you to check out my spreadsheet I linked in the description down below. It'll have links to lots of different laptops on lots of different sites. And if there is anything that's overpriced, I usually mark it as overpriced. Okay. So that's a pretty big difference in performance, 246, now that we're bypassing NVIDIA Optimus. Let's go ahead and hop into a match and see what our performance is like. DJ Blackwing, M17 10th Gen i7, 32 gigs, 3080 versus X17 11th Gen i7, XMP 3080, same screen. DJ Blackwing, do you know if which ones come with NVIDIA Optimus, like what the display is? Because what the display you choose will determine whether or not you have, well, not fill teammates. Yes. Okay, cool. Sweet. Okay. The display that you pick with an Alienware M17 or X17 will determine whether it comes with Advanced Optimus or a direct connection to the display or just regular Optimus. Those are your three options. Like I think on the M17, if I remember correctly, if you have a 300 hertz or higher display, it's just a direct connection from the laptop's NVIDIA GPU to the on-screen display. If you get the 144 hertz option, I think it's regular Optimus. And then if you get the 4K option, I believe it's also regular Optimus. Yeah, I believe those are. So you might run into CPU bottlenecks depending on what game you play. Everything purple's based on your recent laptops reviewed. Do you have any plans on upgrading yours? Do you like any of the new ones you've reviewed? So everything purple. The Alienware X17 is actually right now. I'm considering keeping it and replacing my Scar 15 with it. Um, but I'm leaning away from replacing my Scar 15 with the X17 at this currently. We'll see. Mainly, and I think the main reason is the performance isn't that much different. The price is much higher, and I really like the keyboard and smaller size of the Scar 15 for when I'm taking it around. I've got a desktop for when I want to go full performance mode, and then the Scar 15 is more of a portable machine. I don't know. This is taking a while. Let's see if I can do trios. Maybe trios will go faster. I'm in Thailand. I like MSI laptops and Asus, but Alienware, very new to me. I just saw yesterday. Gotcha. What do you think about the new Razer Blade 14? Will I review it? I currently don't have a plan to review the Razer Blade 14. I think Jared did a great review if you're looking for reviews of it. I did watch his reviews in detail, and I think the Razer Blade 14 is a fantastic choice if you've got the money. Um, if you got the money and you want something super portable, it's a great choice. If you don't mind something a little bit heavier, you can get quite a bit more performance out of, say, like 130 watt RTX 3070 or 3080, and you can pay less money at the same time. So something like the Strix G15 or the Legion series will provide more performance for your money um, compared to the Razer Blade 14. How is the X17 compared to the MSI GE76? So that's a very common question. Um, and I think the main difference between the X17 and the GE76 is the GE76 will always come with a MUX switch, so you can always get full performance out of it. That said, you have probably the biggest hardware difference if you're getting like the exact same specs, let's say with the i9 versus the i9. The Alienware will be able to push more watts to the CPU. That's my understanding. This is not loading for us for some reason. It like took me out of the matchmaking. I guess we'll fill teammates. Um, so what are they saying? So the GE76 will have lower CPU TDP because it only has two heat pipes to the CPU, which is a little bit sad if you really want CPU performance. That said, your CPU performance when under a dual load will be very similar. So, like if you're playing Warzone, you'll probably be able to push about 70-ish watts or 60 to 70-ish watts to the CPU in both games, on both laptops. But then when you go to a CPU only workload, the Alienware can push over 100 watts to the CPU, where the GE76 will still only be able to push like that 70, 80 watts. Because you don't have as many shared heat pipes between the CPU and GPU. And then the actual TDP on the GPU will be very similar. Overall, if you play a lot of CPU-bound games, I think the GE76 is a little bit better choice. If you have, what am I trying to say? If you have a lot of CPU-bound game focus, if you play a lot of GPU-bound games, it's not going to matter very much. Like the fact of having an Optimus versus having Mux versus Advanced Optimus just doesn't matter as much when you're dealing with GPU bound games. It's like only like a 2 to 3% performance hit, especially at higher resolutions. But even that small of a performance hit will make it so that the technically the GE76 will probably edge out the X17 in a lot of games. Okay, so let's see how many FPS we get in the actual game mode here. We'll just go ahead and average throughout the match. I kind of want to solo jump, but I'm the jump master, so let's have us land over here. So this is in a super noob-filled match. I'm like tempted to be like to go play it out, but okay. So I'm gonna land on this building over here. Hopefully, no one bothers me. Just grab a gun, so if I need to defend myself, I'll be able to do that. Okay, cool. All right, so we'll just stand right here next to this air conditioner and look this way, and we'll measure the FPS here. Okay, so we're doing, we'll just let it average out for about 30 seconds or so. All right, so 151. Oh, our poor teammates are going to die, and I'm not going to be there to help them. They're going to be mad at me. It's in my name, okay? My name and my character is benchmarking. Sorry. Okay. Apex Legends, external monitor, Trios QHD 156, 104. Okay. Let's go ahead and do 1080p real quick. All right. We are 206, 205, 169. All right, and let's try going back to the internal monitor again. I don't know if this is going to crash me or not. Doesn't look like it crashed me, so that's a good thing. Let's go ahead and see what we get on the laptop display. We switch to windowed mode and I'll go back to full screen. It didn't like that. Please work. Okay, cool. All right, and now we go back to full screen. Interesting, only 82 FPS. This feels lower. I don't think that that's correct. I feel so sorry. I want to restart because I think this is a lot lower than what it should be. Just because we didn't restart the game. But 8270, might as well just record it just in case. So 8270, and then let's switch to full HD. Yeah, this is not, I don't think this is running correctly. But let's see, because this might be a good example of another game where a mux switch is really, really good. 109.88. Okay, so let's go ahead and restart. I feel so bad for that. Okay. Is the keyboard hot? Just a little bit warm, but not hot. I would definitely say not hot. Okay, so let's restart the game now that we're on the internal display. Is there a version of the X17 that has a mux switch? There's a version of the X17 with the advanced Optimus Jalen Bridges. I think it's the 360 hertz version. So you'll be able to take advantage of the of Advanced Optimus, which is basically like a muck switch without having to restart. Okay. All right. Here we go. See if we can load in again. So still exact same settings. Right now we're at 1080p. Everything purple. May I know your usual time schedule to doing lives? Or is it random? Only been to like 3, maybe due to the time zone, but I really like to watch you review live as you're few of the trusted ones that I know of. So I usually stream in the late afternoons, early evenings, Pacific Standard Time, typically. I've actually might be streaming earlier in the day. But the main thing is if you don't want to miss out on my lives, it's just hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and then look out for the notification for when I go live. It lost a lot of FPS. Yeah, with the last one. I was really curious if it's. I'm gonna rerun it again now. Um, 9670 seems a little low for the 11800H CPU score. Sabishito, you're referring to the time spy score? Let me see. Time spy 9670. Yeah, so that's with the internal display. With an external monitor, we got 10,508. Also, this is the i9-11980HK, right? So this is not the 11800H. So I got 9924 on the GE76. Okay, is that with the muck switch enabled or disabled? Between the cooling on the X17 versus GE76, I do prefer. I like the shared heat pipes for when you do CPU bound things. So I'm just going to set this. So I solo jump. Okay. There we go. Let's go ahead and see if our FPS difference, see how much of an FPS difference we end up getting. I'm really curious. Okay. So we set it. Shit. Gah! Oh, I am. I'm gonna have to restart again. Gah! Oh my god. uh, well, our FPS was way higher than 80, so that's a good sign. But let's go ahead and start again. I feel so bad. Okay, which laptop runs the most quiet that I've tested? So, the laptops I would say run the most quiet, I would say would be some of the. Well, there's a lot of good laptops coming out that run really quietly and run really well still. Like the new Asus laptops I've been really impressed with because in silent mode, you can still basically do casual gaming and the laptop is completely quiet. But the Lenovo 7 also had a really good quiet mode. So, but the Lenovo 7 was a little bit louder. Like you could still kind of audibly hear it a little bit. Where the Asus Scar 15 and the Strix G17, both of those laptops, you basically can't hear it at all, and uh, you can't hear it at all, and it's freaking like it's awesome. for just casual gaming. Like you want to play The Witcher 3 or GTA or some storyline game, and you don't care about having 150 FPS, you're just happy with 60 or 80, um, then your performance in silent mode is just awesome. Um, so that's what I would say. What's your favorite laptop in the studio? So I really, really like the Legion 7. And I'm like right now, I'm actually leaning towards replacing my Scar 15 with a Legion 7i, so which is Intel version of the Legion 7, basically. But the downside is it's like 3 months back order. So I have an order in, but it's going to take forever for it to get here. And the main reason is because it does have that mux switch. And I really, really like having the number pad, and the keyboard on the Legion 7 was just, it was awesome. So, okay, so I'm going to let these people go wherever they want to go. And I'm going to solo jump over here again. Hey, I just got my X17 and it's awesome. Do you think the 16 gigs of RAM is enough for basic gaming, or should I upgrade it? It has a 4K screen and a 3070. So I would say in general, the 3070. So the default 16 gigs of RAM is going to be pretty good for a lot of games. It's just I think not the ideal RAM for some people, especially for CPU. Like it tends to be slower RAM that they included with the laptop, which is kind of a bummer. So okay, so let's go ahead and measure this again. All right, so we're at 1080p right now. Sorry, let me try and answer your question completely while we wait for this to finish. 16 gigs of RAM is a good enough total amount of RAM for the vast majority of games. Does that make sense? You don't need more than 16 gigs for the vast majority. Some games you do, like Star Citizen and maybe Flight Simulator or something like that. That said, usually also higher resolution tends to need more RAM. And then the other thing is, so the other thing about it is just the RAM latency and timings is not great. Okay, so on the default RAM, but maybe yours is better. Maybe I would say take it take it and measure it on a per case by case basis. Oops, I just did the wrong thing. Okay, so Apex Legends trios, we're getting 162 this time, 119 on the internal display. So that's actually that is 40 FPS less. Okay, and then let's go ahead and switch everything to QHD. Okay. Let's start the measuring again here. And if you want to know more about the RAM timings issue, I know I made a video comparing a couple different RAMs, and then also I know Jared Steck did another video on it. I'm tempted to make another video on it explaining it. So we got 134.93. All right, let me see if I can rescue the teammates from their death down below because I feel bad. I don't know that we'll be able to do that, but we'll try. So basically, with this laptop, I would say if you're going to play QHD, it does not really matter very much. Because if you're playing QHD, then you're going to be hitting more than 120 FPS the vast majority of the time. So yeah, I would say you're good with this 4K display, at least, if that's your goal. If your goal is to have a smaller display, oh my god, why? Why? Okay, you murdered me. Okay, it's a game. That's why. Hey Gizmo, when is your next stream? Britt, I'm not sure. I don't want to promise because I feel bad when I'm like I'm gonna stream in a couple days and then I don't or something. So I'm not gonna say exactly when. I don't want to establish a set schedule yet. Just just because some days I feel too tired or I get really busy. Like I wanted to stream like about a couple days after the last live stream, but then I had another YouTuber come to town, and so I was busy kind of hosting him for a few days in a row, and then uh, yeah, so just got busy for about 5 days there, and so the streams got delayed. Okay, so that was let's just kind of evaluate there. So Apex Legends with an external monitor, we were getting 54 FPS more at QHD in the training grounds, and then in the actual game mode, we got only about 24 more FPS in QHD. In full HD, we were getting about 53, no, 40, 47 more FPS or something like that, I think. 162 versus 205. So, yeah, I think that's 47. So, overall, or is that no, that's 43? 43 FPS difference. That's still a pretty noticeable difference. But again, if you're using a 4K 120 hertz display, you don't see the difference or not hardly at all. So that's where, again, I think for this laptop with this display, you don't need a mux for the vast majority of games. Warzone is one of the few exceptions where you might notice a difference, but Apex Legends, you won't, I don't think. So pretty interesting. Okay. How does full screen 1080p look? Good. It looks about the same clarity you'll have on a native 1080p, but it's a little bit worse. Really though, QHD is where you're going to have basically no noticeable difference, like discernible. Like you can still tell a difference at running 1080p on a 4K display. You can tell a difference that it's not native, but at QHD you cannot tell a difference. I don't think versus a native QHD, just because QHD on this small of a screen is already so freaking tiny. Like the pixels are very small. Okay, next game. Moving on. Let me make that Apex Legends. Let me try to abbreviate this somehow, so it doesn't take up as much display. Holo training. Okay. All right. I think that's pretty good. All right. Fortnite. Here we go. Britt, how are you liking that? How are you liking the Clevo you got? I never saw you. I never saw you email me a review or anything of it. Does Advanced Optimus function like a Mux? I mean, increasing FPS. DJ Blackwing, that is correct. It basically makes it so you bypass the integrated GPU for maximum possible performance. Hi, what is your thoughts on the final thoughts on the F15 3060? So Ibrahim, I'd say the Asus ToughDash F15 3060 is a fairly portable, fairly sleek, moderate performance that will be good for the casual gamer. The 240 hertz display option is going to be a lot better than the 144 hertz display option because the color gamut and response rate will be better with no ghosting. The super cheap version for I think 1149 is going to be again still decent. Even the 144 hertz lower quality screen is still decent for the money. There's not been very good competition. As a matter of fact, like let's say 6 months ago, the Gigabyte G5 would have been a great competitor to it. But right now, like the Gigabyte G5 got worse, got more expensive, and then they released a new version of the Gigabyte G5. It's been really weird. So where the ToughDash went up $50 in price, the competition went up like $100 to $150 in price. In short, I think the ToughDash is still a decent option. It's still a decent option. It's just it's it's not a super high TDP, and you don't have a mux switch, and the display is not amazing. So You can, I think, get more performance for your money. It's possible too. Um, this is probably really hard to follow, so let me try to summarize it. Um, I think it's a solid choice still. I do recommend it. Um, the other options that tend to be recommended above the Tough Dash F15 tend to be super sold out. Like the Legion 5, I think it's clearly a better choice than the Tough Dash F15. But it's super hard sold out, and the ones you can actually buy are marked up in price. Like everyone was looking at the Legion 5, the 5 Pro, the Legion 7, being like, these laptops are going to be amazing. They're going to have great prices. And then they come out in the United States and they're sold out with a 4-month delay if you want to order one. Or conversely, there are you can you could buy it now if you pay like a $600 scalping price to that makes it so it's not at all a good bang for the buck versus what you can actually buy from other places, you know. So it it puts the it basically puts you in a really awkward position um, at that right around that $1,100 to $1,300 price range. There's a lot of competition. I think the Omen 15Z, Omen 15T are really good alternatives to consider. But overall, I think the Tough Dash F15 is still it's decent. Like it's not ideal. Like it, but right now the market is still really weird, and so it's kind of like one of those situations where it's like, yeah, you know what? Uh, I can understand why someone would get the Asus Tough Dash F15 and be super happy with it. Okay. What is the Delta E rating of the 4K screen? I'm not sure. Dana Pink, does Optimus affect the CPU performance and Cinebench scores? If so, would an external monitor bypass this? Dana, no, it should not because um, Cinebench is straight coming from the CPU and just being rendered in the CPU and just output. Optimus affects GPU performance when you route the video signal through from the NVIDIA GPU to the integrated GPU to a display. And it just causes a CPU slowdown as it processes the video signal, basically. And it causes like a latency increase. It's hard to explain quickly, but when you render in Cinebench, it should not affect that. That said, say you're doing DaVinci Resolve where you're using GPU and CPU, I don't know if it would affect it or not. That'd be a very interesting thing to test. I don't think it would, but it might in rare circumstances. I don't know. That's a very good question though. Why didn't I complete the reviewing of the Tough Dash F15? Just timing. I'm sorry, Ibrahim. It's just not enough time, and not enough time, and I got busy, and then I got distracted, and new laptops came out before I could finish it, and then it's like I got to prioritize the laptops I think are going to be the most popular. And Fortnite is so weird and glitchy sometimes. Like we're getting these little micro stutters happening all the time. I'm in DirectX 12 mode, by the way. So, what mode you load this game into, it can affect your performance quite heavily. I know there's someone right next to me. This game is very laggy right now. I know there's someone right around me somewhere. Where are you? Oh, got me. Maybe I think it's. Well, let's let it play here for a little bit as we watch this guy. Is this a person or a bot? I don't know. Let's go ahead and hop into the next match. Looks like a person though. Seems to be running a bit better. Like I'm not noticing like the stutters that it was happening. Probably from initially loading the map or something. It was getting the stutters. Okay, so Britt says, I had to send it back and have a fan replaced and did that about 2 weeks ago. I should be getting it back hopefully soon. When I do, I'll post a review on Discord. Okay. Well, also email me the review, Britt. I don't get to follow every single thing that happens in the Discord, so can you cap it at 360 FPS, please? Low settings, full HD. So we are right now the settings. Let me just go ahead and show you. We're set to unlimited 1440p, but we are on all low settings except for view distance. These are the current settings. So 100% render resolution, 2560 by 1440p. I don't want to cap it to 360 because we might actually be able to go above 360. But the important setting here is DirectX 12 beta is enabled. So performance mode and DirectX 11, you can see sometimes pretty noticeable difference in performance. Now, basically, I mean, like I said, this is a QHD or the 4K 120 hertz refresh rate. So what people would actually probably want to see is how well does Fortnite play if you got the 360 hertz full HD version and you're running with Advanced Optimus. So maybe I should run this on an external display again because that's what really what people are going to want to be able to see comparable performance to what you'll get with the 360 hertz display option. I'm pretty sure you could get above 400 FPS, I bet. Oh, look, there's Rick. No, come back. Oh, this is awesome. I can't believe it. I might actually play Fortnite just so I can get the Rick skin. I freaking love Rick and Morty. It's just gizmoslip at Gmail, Britt. Gizmoslip at Gmail. So let's see what we get on the internal display. And then we can try throwing this up on the external monitor. Sanjay says, hey, I have a question. The X17 with the Intel i7 3070, 32 gigs of RAM. Is it good with a 360 hertz display? Should I get an external monitor? So you should be good with that monitor because that version of the display comes with Advanced Optimus. So you don't need an external monitor to get maximum performance. Looks like we have some people landing near us. I'll go ahead and start recording new FPS as we get closer to the ground here. So, I mean, if you're playing on the, if you're playing Fortnite with the 120 hertz 4K display, you'll be able to, we've basically confidently demonstrated we'll be. Oh, that's an AI. I don't really care about trying to beat that guy. I just want a gun in case so I can kill the other player. This is not great. Why? Yeah, I shot him is why. They're pissed about me shooting them. Oh goodness. Can I kill these guys? Is this worth it? I got one. Okay, I died. No. Okay. Sorry, it's hard to focus on answering questions while getting killed. Here, let's just watch this guy and see the performance real quick, and then we'll try using the external monitor. Is there any benefit with your FPS going over the screen refresh rate? The only real benefit of it, GBC, is your 1% FPS lows are still visible technically, even if you're like, so our screen refresh rate is 120. Right now, you can see our 1% low is 104, 109. If your 1% low is above 120, it's basically impossible to discern the difference, or very, very, like only if you're ultra, ultra, ultra competitive, maybe you're going to get a slightly increased, I guess, image being displayed on your display. Like let's say you have 1,000 FPS versus say exactly 120. You might be able to see the rendered frame on your display a millisecond sooner. It's such a slight difference that only the ultra competitive player might be able to tell the difference. Anyone that is anyone that is like not ultra competitive, you're going to get far more benefit out of say like a 360 hertz display versus getting higher refresh rate over 120. Um, like let's say that you're getting 400 FPS on a 120 hertz display versus 400 FPS on a 360 hertz display. You'll see that so much more with a 360 hertz display. Okay, let's try restarting the game. We'll use the external monitor and we'll see how we do. I mean, we're getting like around 200, right? So, um, cool. Let me let me just check this real quick. So looks like we were getting about a 196. 196, 117 is what I'll put in for Fortnite QHD on the internal display. Let me check the external monitor and then move on to the next game. 196, 114. And this is solos. Okay. Okay. 360 hertz with Advanced Optimus is great by itself, but if I want a big screen to play on, what would you recommend? I would recommend a display something similar to what I have right here. This is an HP Omen display, but it just the main thing is really it's a QHD 240 hertz display. That's the thing that's really nice about it. It's very high response rate, very colorful, decent black levels, and so it's a great overall blend of like responsive, good resolution, um, and it's a good size. I think it's a 27 inch. This is the rough display stats I would recommend for a mixture of competitive and casual gaming, and you're very future proofed. You know, like you've got a very vibrant display at the same time. So I wouldn't really recommend getting like a 360 hertz full HD or something like that unless you're just ultra competitive. I would rather go QHD high refresh rate as a recommendation. The Dragon GFX says, "Hey Gizmo, what's up? Do you know if the X17 i7 and 3070 I can get it in a store physically?" Best Buy might be your only option there. I don't know if they actually have them on hand or not there. So everything is still set to the exact same settings, 1440p. We can also try changing the settings down to 1080p here in a little bit, but let's just try 1440p. So this is the exact same settings. And I'll try to go to that same area, which I think was the movie theater. Thanks, Gizmo. Ask a question earlier. Would appreciate your input. Given your experience with the X17 and G76, which one would you recommend from a pure performance point? I think they're going to be very similar in performance overall. If you play CPU bound games, get the GE76 or the X17 with the Advanced Optimus. I think that's probably the biggest question. If you play CPU bound games, if that's your jam, like CS:GO and Fortnite and stuff like that, like look at our FPS boost. We're getting the 400 range now. Like let's see what we actually get in the movie theater area, but it'll probably be similar, right? Like this is a big difference for CPU bound games. Alternatively, you can. Where does it go? Is it this one? Is this the movie theater? Alternatively, you can use an external monitor like I am. Even if you get the Optimus version, like the 4K display, like you want that really vibrant, bright display, you can go with the Optimus 4K 120 hertz, and then when you want to do competitive games, you can just use a high refresh rate, high response rate external monitor. like what I'm doing right now. So just know that you have options no matter which model you get. But overall, I think from the GE76 and the Alienware perspective, it's not massively different either way. Hey, we got a kill. You're going to get in the same ballpark of performance no matter what. If you're going to do CPU bound games or CPU things as your primary focus, I think the X17 is going to be a little better for that as well. I don't know what did I just do. Oh crap! We're killing ourselves. Oh, God. I don't understand what that new thing. I guess it's a firebomb. It spreads like wildfire. Okay, so we're hitting. We were hitting what 278 during that. Let me see. Go back to what it was. Check the stream. Okay, so 269, 270. So with an external monitor, you can see we're getting quite a bit higher FPS. And just look at that, 400. Like if your goal is to hit 360 FPS in Fortnite, definitely need to use an external monitor or external monitor or get the advanced Optimus version so you can take advantage of the super high frame rates. Okay, so we're now at 1080p, over 500 FPS right now, sitting here. Can I go to next player? Let's just go around and see a few different areas of the map, and see what kind of FPS these players are getting, or what we get if we were in these areas. Nice. Hey, this player is a good player. Look at this. He's got the what is this skin? Um, gingerbread skin, I think. So it's like an old skin. So you can see that if you got the 360 hertz display, you'd definitely be able to take advantage of all 360 hertz, at least in certain portions of the map. Like right now, we're getting 270. Now we're back above 300 again. So, yeah, I mean, just to give you an idea of the performance. Izzy says, Gizmo, I want a laptop. Should I buy now or wait for 30 Series Super? I mean, if you don't need to buy now, you could try to wait, but it's going to be like 6 months probably. Wait, what? You can get in cars like this now? Oh, this guy's going to die. That must be an AI player or something because he's not. Okay, let's check a couple areas of the map. Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy good performance in Fortnite with this laptop and CPU. The CPU GPU performance, as long as you are taking advantage of like a direct connection to the GPU, you're going to have great performance in Fortnite. Okay. How much faster do you think super GPUs will be? On average, CPU GPUs, super GPUs are going to be like 20% faster. So I would say if you're not in a rush to get something, then I mean you could wait if you want. But just know that there will always be something better. That's the way it is. That's the way technology works. It'll always work that way. So you want to wait 6 months to get a laptop? You can always wait, and you can always wait 6 months after that. Typically speaking, I wouldn't really recommend waiting as long as you're getting a good deal on the tech product that you're getting. Um, Does that make sense? Like, if you're being budget conscious, you want to get don't, like, for example, pay for scalping amounts, or like there are certain like Amazon listings that charge like $600 more. Like, it's not worth getting a hype laptop at $600 surplus pricing. Gizmo, and of him in the Best Buy, and they have the M17 instead of the X17. Do you think it's worth it? I have a budget of $2,500. Which laptop do you recommend? So Dragon GFX, I would recommend. So this list of laptops right here has all of my top recommended laptops. If your budget's around $2,500, I would recommend looking at these laptops right here. The Alienware M17 is still a good choice, especially if you get it on sale. Um, I believe if I go up here, here's some laptops that are on sale right now. The Alienware M15 R5, and I believe right here the Alienware M15 R4 is on sale, I believe, from Best Buy. It's on sale from Dell as well. And I think Dell does coupons sometimes too. So looks like it's sold out right now. This was not sold out earlier today. So notice the price can vary, go up and down on this a lot. But I think this was $1,850, I believe. So $250 discount for an RTX 3070. This is a 140 watt RTX 3070 and a 15-inch chassis. It's gonna run. It's gonna run at a high temperature, but be fairly portable. I believe this is going to have bad battery life because it's a direct connection. That's the only downside really to this laptop. But yeah. So this list will I'll send you in the right direction, and it'll allow you to price comparison and shop around. You may already be aware of this list, but yeah, if your budget's around $2,500, the Alienware M17 R4 is a good choice, especially if you get if you don't need massive battery life. If you need battery life, then I think the Aorus 15P, the MSI GP66. If you really want it to be an in-person sale, then I mean you can go to Best Buy and see what kind of options they have, but it's going to be, typically speaking, your in-store options are going to be a lot more limited versus buying online these days. You could try ordering for in-store pickup, and then you can check out the laptop and return it in person right away if you need to, because Best Buy does do that. You can do like the in-store pickup. Okay, so right now we're in full screen, 1440p. We're on the internal laptop display. We're on everything set to ultra, so ultra, and then we go down to ray tracing. We set that to ultra, and DLSS we set to balanced. Okay, and we go back in. All right, and then we are going to set it to quality when we go down to 1080p. Which laptop am I reviewing next? So I'm working on the X17 and the Asus Strix G15 AMD Advantage Edition are the next two. True, but I reckon the RTX 4000 for laptops will be in 2023. So if they do 3080 Super laptop GPUs at the end of 2021, early 2022, then yeah, probably at the beginning of 2023, there'll be the RTX 4000 series, something like that. Yeah, Gizmo, I was thinking about the in-store pickup because I'm not from the USA and I'll probably go on summer next year and I can't buy it from Amazon or ship it to a place because I don't live. Okay. Sketchable Studios. That is the list. Yes, that is the list. Thanks, I didn't see it. Gotcha. Have you noticed any improvement by underbolting? Rafael Delgado, you can see in my benchmarks list there on the on displayed screen of benchmarks. I have the Cinebench R20 with undervolting and no undervolting. And you can see that there's about a 400 point difference when we undervolted versus no undervolting. From about 5,300, 5,400 to 57, 5,800. And I'm currently doing all the benchmarks without an undervolt right now. So just know that the temperatures could be improved by a bit if we undervolted. Okay, so QHD, everything RTX and Ultra, we got 50, 40. So 50 average, 40, 1% low. We'll drop down to 1080p here. Watch Dogs Legion, 50, 40. Okay. And we're going to drop down to quality, and then we need to go down to 1080p. Apply. Yes. Okay. Let's go ahead and run 1080p. See how we do. Jazz Up says, hey, I'm thinking to buy a GE66 in the UK. Which one should I choose? All their specs are the same. Just 15-inch full HD 240 hertz, 512 gig versus 100 pounds more for QHD 240 hertz 1 terabyte. Oh, for only 100 pounds more, definitely go with the QHD 240 hertz. The display quality on the QHD 240 hertz is going to be super worth it, and then in addition, you're getting a bigger SSD. That's double worth it. Definitely worth getting the QHD 240 hertz if you can. I'm actually surprised if that's not sold out though. So, Solomon says, "Thank you, Brandon. You've always put out quality content that's actually super informative. Salute to you, good sir." Thank you for watching, and I'm just glad that I can be helpful to some people, you know. Sketchable Studios, I would assume it would be better than the 3060 because of VRAM. Okay, sorry. My budget isn't super high, but I might get an i7-10750H with a 2070 Super Max Q Lenovo Legion 7. I would assume it would be better than the 3060 because of VRAM. Okay, gotcha. They would be very similar in performance, Sketchable Studios. I think the main downside with getting that Legion would be that you only have a 6-core CPU versus, say, if you got a newer 3060, you might get an 8-core CPU with it at the same time. Which would you prefer, the Asus M16 or Zephyrus G15? The Zephyrus G15 has a better GPU for the same price. You can get a 3060 versus a 3070, so I would go Zephyrus G15 over the M16 if it's the same price otherwise. Okay, so we got 5741. I feel like these FPS numbers are a little bit low, both at QHD and Full HD. So 5746. Interesting. Like, just making sure. Yeah, I don't have anything else. I don't know. Maybe they're not low. Let me just do a quick comparison check with my other benchmarks. But okay. So then let's turn RTX off, DLSS off, run the benchmark. Okay, let me go ahead and pull up the comparison benchmark here. Watch Dogs Legion, 1080p, RTX on Ultra, DLSS on Quality. Yeah, those are low because the GE76 with a 3080 got 74. So for some reason, it's noticeably lower. Like my Scar 15 got 62. So something's definitely going on there with that benchmark. Hmm. Just kind of looking at our performance here. Okay. Is Micro Center a good place to buy a laptop or is it more expensive? Um, it just depends. Micro Center, it just depends on the individual deal. I think most of the time Micro Center will be standard retail price. So it just comes down to Micro Center being um, only in a handful of cities around the United States. So if there's not one near you, you can't really buy from them. In general, they also have a less flexible return policy compared to Best Buy. Like if you open the laptop, I think it's a 15% restocking fee usually, unless they change their policy. Unless there's something wrong with the laptop, then it's no restocking fee. But if you're just returning it because you don't like it, then you're going to have to pay that restocking fee there. But sometimes there are super good deals on Micro Center. It just depends. So 7357 for full HD. So full HD 7357. I wonder what's going on with the performance in this game. I wonder if it's a driver issue or something, because it's definitely a little bit lower than what I would expect. Could also be related to Optimus, but Sanjay says external monitor for the X17 should go for full HD, QHD, UHD. What refresh rate? I would go QHD 240 hertz if you want to have the most flexibility. But it also depends on your budget because I think those are going to run you a little bit more. Which way are you leaning on the X17? I'm thinking of return. I think I'm leaning right now towards returning the X17. That's the way I'm leaning. Mm, there's a handful of reasons. I'm going to go over everything in my detailed review, but it comes down to size, weight, the keyboard not being fully RGB backlit, the speakers being lower in quality than the Scar 15 speakers. Um, I love the display on the X17 though, and I love the CPU performance on the X17. And there's so many things, and some things I really love about the X17. So it makes it a really tough decision. But right now, I am leaning towards returning it. Ken Phillips, if I plan on using this laptop with the lid closed and connected to an external display, do you think there would be a problem with the lid blocking the vents on the inside of the laptop? Um, I'm not sure, Ken. I haven't done any like stress testing with it with the lid closed. Um, right now, just putting my fingers over the vents on the sides, I can feel some air moving on either side of the keyboard. So you may have a little bit higher temperatures if you close the lid. That said, if you close the lid and put the machine on, let's say, a laptop stand, I think what you'd see is um, probably overall lower temperatures. Because I can tell that when I lift the laptop up just a little bit, I get actually improved airflow with when the back of the laptop is elevated a little bit. So I'd say if you close the lid, just elevate the back and make it easier for air to go in the underside. And you'll probably cancel out any airflow problems. Daniel Berkit, so you're sticking with the Scar 15 or different 17-inch? I think I'm going to stick with, right now, I'm leaning towards sticking with my Scar 15 and giving a Lenovo Legion 7i a chance at winning my heart. Which is the best 17-inch laptop? MSI 76 or Strix Scar? Um, I don't know. I think you have a handful of choices. You have the MSI GE76. You have the MSI GP76, which might be a little better bang for the buck option. The Alienware X17, and then you also have the Zephyrus S17. So you have a lot of different choices. Um, Man, the display on this thing is just so vibrant. That's honestly if I end up keeping the X17 for any specific reason, it's definitely going to be because the vibrant display. It's just so bright and colorful. I really, really like the display on the X17. Okay, so we are set to Ultra, full screen 1440p. I have the S17 now and love it. Cool. Yeah, the S17 seems like an all-around good option as well. I've heard Advanced Optimus can be very buggy with it. That's, I think, one of the main downsides to the S17. Do you have Advanced Optimus on your S17, and have you had any issues with it? The other downside to the S17 is it's a lower TDP 3080, so I think a lot of people would be a little disappointed knowing that their potential performance is a little bit lower, you know? Set this to 1 p.m. Clear skies. All that looks good. Let's go ahead and set it to fly. The S17 is also very expensive. That's true. Can you explain what Trios is? It's the game mode. Uh, so Apex Legends, it's the trios with 3 people. It's basically the public matchmaking mode. So it's like an official match. Testing it in the downtown skyscraper area on Olympus. By the way, do you review Ultrabooks? Typically not GBC. My focus is definitely more around performance gaming laptops. From like the smallest, closest thing to Ultrabooks I review would be like the Zephyrus G14 and the Razer Blade 14. I would consider reviewing those. Asmit, bro, is it okay to connect the laptop to an external monitor and keeping the lid closed? I think you'll be fine, Asmit. Just make sure you elevate the underside of this laptop if you get this one. Okay, thank you, thank you. I don't play Apex. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, that's basically the trios is the game mode. Mr. Appreciative, it's meh. Suckers fall to their knees on seeing the X17. Yeah, I mean if you want to have a laptop that really is like super awesome to look at, that's another pro of the X17. Like it's a real pro. Like you're gonna catch some eyes. Like look at this trackpad. Okay. There are gonna be some people looking at this trackpad and going, "Oh my God, that is the most beautiful laptop I've ever seen in my life." Um, but I mean, that's obviously not the highest priority for a lot of people in a laptop. They don't. That's like But other people, it's like if the performance is the same between the GE76 and the X17, then I will get the X17 just because the trackpad looks cooler. Like there are people like that. Okay, let me go ahead and let's see here. I think it's let's see here. Throttle up. I gotta try to remember the controls. I think it's if I remember correctly, I think it's F9. Uh, Search by name. Throttle. Throttle. Okay, so increased throttle is F3. Okay, cool. Right, so F3. You press F3 until the airplane is shaking from. Then we press. So we're max throttle now, and then 9 and P. Okay, so I'm guessing we're not going to see any kind of performance increase on this machine, just because this game is so poorly optimized. It's entirely CPU bound, even on ultra settings. Is the X17 a bad laptop? No, it is. It is clearly not a bad laptop. I think by any measure, it's not a bad laptop. I think it's just um, the way if you're trying to be super technical and precise, like about how a laptop functions, right? And what you're looking for in a laptop, that's the bigger question. Like, does this laptop fit your needs and wants? Okay, so we got 28 to 20. So yeah, this is pretty much very similar performance to what I would expect. I'm a little bit disappointed that we didn't get any kind of performance increase because this is so CPU bound, but it is what it is. Okay, so back to explaining my thoughts on the laptop. The X17 is far from a bad laptop, I would say. It's just very, very expensive. And you are paying a lot extra for like the thinness of this machine. For example, the fancy touchpad, the fancy RGB. And um, I think you can have a equally premium experience at lower dollar signs, if that makes sense. Like the MSI GE76 is around 4100 for a similar price machine to this one, similar spec machine. So it's very this thing is competitively priced for the GE76. But like the Legion 7, I was able to spec out a Legion 7 for around 3100, 3200, I believe, and it was similar specs to this machine. Um, Not quite as good of a display, but it does have a mux, and it is a bit more portable. So doesn't have Windows Hello like this was Windows Hello. I love Windows Hello. Like there's that you see why I haven't decided whether I'm keeping the X17 or not. See, there's a lot of back and forth in my brain. Okay, so I think we're on to the last game, Valorant now. So we got to get that installing. But I mean, Valorant is going to be like pretty freaking obvious. It's going to run really, really well. Excited for Valorant 240 plus would be a dream. So with Valorant on the internal display, I mean, Valorant's just like this weirdly optimized game. Um, I know that like it's like they purposefully make it so it doesn't tax your system very hard, so that it will run. Uh, they make it so that it only uses like 30% of the GPU, for example, and then it'll run at 200 FPS when you know that this thing could be running at 400 FPS if it just used more of the CPU and GPU. So I'm curious if there's like some kind of background setting in Valorant that you can turn on or whatever to flip the FPS to be way higher. Can you recommend any cooling pad for the X17 or generally any laptop? So LM Twilight, I would say if I was shopping for a cooling pad, the biggest things I would look for would be you want to increase the airflow to the underside of the laptop. So you either want to have fans bringing air in or have like completely open air or like so basically like the a simple way to do it would be to have a pad that has like a mesh underside basically or like a wireframe underside so that it just allows air to just go right into the bottom of the laptop because that's the goal of a laptop cooling pad is you just want to have the you want to have the laptop's internal fans to have maximum airflow. And some cooling pads will have active fans that like shove air inside too. So that can help a little bit sometimes. But typically speaking, cooling pads aren't going to dramatically change things, maybe by a couple degrees in a stress test. Call the FBI. This man is flying a plane without a license. What's my internet speed? I have Comcast fiber. Ken Phillips says, "Hey Gizmo, I currently have the new Razer Blade 14 with a 3080. Do you think the X17 would have noticeable performance increase?" Oh yeah, man. Like the Razer Blade 14 with a 3080, you're probably looking at just over 10,000, maybe 10,400 or something like that in time spy. Um, that's under ideal conditions. Like I think you're probably looking at about a 20 to 25% performance gain for most gaming between the Razer Blade 14 and the X17. If they both have similar, like a 3080 versus 3080, it's a big difference when you can have a higher TDP on the 3080. So yeah. Um, so and for reference, like the X17 can get over 12,000 with an external display, or with advanced Optimus, you can push almost 13,000 with an overclock. So it's like a little over 10,000 versus like 12,000 something. It's a big difference. I'm getting the Alienware X17 as the first laptop. Is it going to be a great one? Um, so I think the vast majority of people would freaking love this machine. Like they get it, they buy it, they're using it. It's snappy. It's got great performance. I think I think one thing that might worry some, especially casual people, would be the CPU temperatures. Um, it's going to be very high CPU temps, but I mean, clearly we're getting great performance with this machine. I think the people that are going to be disappointed with the X17 are the people that are like really in the know. They're like, oh, I gotta have a Mux switch because I play Call of Duty Warzone 24/7, and they know that they're gonna get more FPS in Warzone if they have a Mux or Advanced Optimus. So, and those people, I would say, if you're gonna go with the X17, just get the Advanced Optimus version. Um, I think the thing I'm honestly a little disappointed about the X17 is I wish they released a QHD 240 hertz with Advanced Optimus. That would be just that would be the model to buy in my opinion. So, because then you'd be able to take advantage of the Advanced Optimus, be able to take advantage of uh, high resolution, hopefully a good color gamut. You know, it would be I think the best overall package. But that said, it's still a great display. Like I said, I think the vast majority of people would be super happy to have this laptop. Pull it out. You're going to get great performance in the games you play. Um, I think the main downside for me right now is that, like comparing like how I use a laptop, I use a laptop uh, heavily on the go when when I'm actually like trying to sit down and play a competitive game. I'm going to use my desktop typically. Oftentimes I'll like switch over to my desktop if I wanted to play Warzone, for example, because I'll get more FPS on a desktop GPU and CPU. And so for me, it's on my gaming laptop experience is not like if I had my end all be all just being the laptop, I didn't have a desktop to replace it. The X17 would be much more attractive to me versus the Scar 15. You know, but because I'm looking to pair a laptop and desktop together, the portability factor of having it being lighter weight um, is very attractive to me for the Scar 15 because it weighs like 1.5 pounds less with a lot smaller power brick. So if I'm traveling on the go, it's going to be lighter weight in my backpack. I mean, that said, I used to travel with the Area 51M, but when I used the Area 51M that weighs like 10 pounds plus two big power bricks, like 15 pounds total carry weight. Um, when I used that to travel, I I used I did not have a desktop. I was just pretty much using the Area 51M. That was my only computer at the time. So I wasn't so much pairing a laptop and desktop together for a lightweight laptop and a desktop. I was doing it all in one package. And so I think that is one of your, I guess, biggest questions, I think, going into an Alienware X17 purchase is this your all-in-one laptop? Is this your all-in-one computer experience? That's when I think the X17 becomes extra attractive, if you want to call it. Um, okay, so I think we're going to run this. This is a game we should be able to get over 120 FPS, no problem, in 4K. So that's going to be that's what we're going to go with. We're going to go deathmatch mode. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. Sanjay Nair, thanks Gizmo for the advice and great content, man. Love your vids. Yeah. Uh, thanks, man. I appreciate the good feedback. I really do appreciate the good feedback. The blade has 100 watts with dynamic boost, I believe. Yeah, Solomon, that's correct. 100 watts with dynamic boost. But keep in mind that under dual loads, I think it goes down to 80. What is my personal laptop? I currently use a Asus Strix Scar 15. It's a great blend of portability and performance, moderately lightweight, good premium feel, while at the same time having great speakers and cool RGBs. Overall, I still really like the Scar 15. Ryu says, I just purchased this laptop. I'm so happy I could finally achieve my dream. Congrats, man. Dude, like I said, I think the vast majority of people buying this are going to be just super happy with this. Can I buy? I can get a better. I can get a better. Thank you. Didn't check your corners. Okay, so let's see what kind of FPS we're getting here. So you can see that we're using 70% of the GPU, 21% of the CPU, and we're just averaging 120 FPS. Like if this game actually wanted to utilize the full potential of the CPU and GPU, we'd be easily pushing like probably close to 200 FPS, 180, 200. No. Man, someone already has 9 kills. I'm gonna switch my gun to a fully automatic after I die here. Let me see if I can do that. I'm thinking of canceling my order and just waiting for 12th gen in November instead of buying a 4K laptop that will be okay in a few months. Well, the thing is, you will always, no matter what, in a few months, your laptop will always eventually be not the very best. Like that's the nature of a laptop. Like I've bought a lot of laptops in my day, right? And I'm just saying, like I know because every few months a new generation of CPUs comes out from Intel, and then a new generation of CPUs comes out from AMD, and then we have a new AMD GPUs and the new AMD CPUs, and then it's like, oh well, I could have gotten this for this much, And I always tried to have the very best, that I could have in a laptop. Like not always, but most of my life, I oftentimes try to switch my and laptop and desktop. every year usually I'm getting something different or something new. Um, and that's just part of like it's also kind of a hobby for me. And now it's also like a full-time job. So it's like I've got good motivations to keep up with it. But I would say just try to instead of just know your own buying cycle. Like, okay, I'm gonna get something that's gonna last me for 5 years, or I'm only gonna buy for 6 months, or I'm gonna buy for try to pick your cycle and time it accordingly. Like if you know you want to save up for forever, or if you're going to keep the laptop for forever, then I would say factor that in basically to your timing. Like if you want to keep the laptop say for a minimum of 5 years or 4 years, you then just make sure that you're really buying like optimal specs, display, something that you're going to not feel the itch to upgrade right away. So that's where I think spending probably around $2,500 is probably the optimal zone for someone looking to do that. Maybe $1,800 would probably be the minimum if you're trying to keep the laptop and be happy with it. Because then at $1,800, you're at least getting a good quality display, keyboard, high TDP, RTX 3070. You know. Okay, so you can see we're at QHD now. We were doing about 117 at 4K, and now we're doing about 170 or so. What's the FPS on 1080p low? I can check. Let me just play a few more, die a couple more times here at QHD. So we're on QHD, everything maxed out right now. Not everything maxed. It's close to max. It's not quite max. Oh, we already finished this match. Is there a laptop that is good for people who are not tech savvy, that is reliable? Um, Ernie, Co-Page, I would say just if you want to just make an easy purchase on a laptop that you're going to be confident is going to be a good choice overall, like a decent laptop, then look at this laptop list right here. This is a good place to start. Just look at your price range and then look for a laptop here. Like look at your like if you're $1,500 price point, look at the $1,500 laptops right here, and just kind of look through these and see what you can find that's in stock. I think the Aorus 15P, 15G, those are going to be just great choices. Very few people are going to be upset with those. Um, I think other great choices would be the MSI GP66. I think very few people would be disappointed with that. Um, some of the Alienware laptops when you get them on sale. I think the biggest thing to avoid is um, identify the things that you absolutely need to have in a laptop. Like, does it need to be a certain size, weight? Do you need to play CPU bound games or GPU bound games? And then do you need certain amounts of battery life? That's probably another big deal breaker for a lot of people if they get a laptop that has terrible battery life and they're like expecting certain amount of battery life and then they don't even get close to it or something. Okay, and then last thing we're gonna do is just set everything to low. So we're doing 1080p low. Let's see what we get. Okay. Um, what's the most quiet gaming laptop I've tested? The new Asus lineup, Vincent. I think I already mentioned that, but yeah, the new Asus lineup is great. The Lenovo Legion lineup is pretty good too. What's your input on 2K display laptops, like as in QHD laptops? For a 15-inch laptop, 1080p is good. QHD is great. Um, I think a lot of people will be very happy. a lot of people are very happy with full HD or QHD at 15 inches, but people that are want more resolution will be happier with a. I think more people will be happier with QHD than full HD, as long as it's still a high refresh rate. Like, don't go QHD unless you're also getting a high refresh rate, at least 165 hertz or 144, I would say. Well, I guess 120 would be the minimum, but yeah. Good to see you live streaming again. Yeah, I try to live stream every week, usually about twice a week. Um, but yeah, what's up, Warlord? Okay, so I'm gonna play a few here. So here's the weird thing. Like, look at our GPU performance. It's gone like our utilization has gone down so much. We're only at 40% utilization now. So I think that's another great example of like it's really weird the optimization of Valorant. Is it worth to have QHD 240 hertz though? Um, for games like Valorant, you'd probably be able to hit 240 hertz easily, right? QHD. Um, like this is really weirdly optimized game. So yeah, I mean, very good performance overall, very smooth. That's it. I'm sure that with some kind of optimization, we could get into like the 400s or something. Like if it was actually utilizing the CPU and GPU to the max. I don't know. Let me try turning off. I've never tried this. Turning off multi-threaded rendering. I don't know if I need to restart to have that take effect. I don't know if that's going to boost our FPS or decrease it, but it looks like it. Yeah, it looks to be about the same still. So, but there you go. So that's Valorant. Obviously, really great performance. This seems like this game performs about the same, no matter what. No matter what laptop I use, like even RTX 3060 laptops would give about the same FPS as the 3080 laptop in this game in particular. Okay, one more death and then I'm gonna call it. Okay, cool. All right, here we go. Here we go. Let's do a little quick summary. My thoughts on the laptop, and then we'll go ahead and call it for the day. So X17, our performance is good. We're just missing some performance because we don't have a Mux or Advanced Optimus. It's still, I think the vast majority of people, if they were to buy this laptop, would be very happy with their performance. It's just, I think when you comparison shop, you might be a little disappointed when you compare like the numbers of this versus say the GE76 with a Mux, especially in certain titles that are very sensitive to that. Um, we do have some fast RAM in this machine, as far as I can tell. So we're getting good RAM performance. And I love the display. I like the keyboard. I don't love the keyboard layout. I think there's some improvements they can make there. The speakers on this machine are, not amazing. Um, the lighting on this display, the lighting on the touchpad is great. The touchpad is great itself. I love the Windows Hello. I still really like the X17 in a lot of ways, but I don't think it's gonna be the laptop for me because I value having a little bit more portable package, and this does weigh a lot. Um, and I am a bit sad at the really high CPU temperatures that we're seeing on the machine, as well as I think it's very important to point out that the fan noise on the X17 has a bit of a like kind of a whistly sound to it. So if you're very sensitive to fan noise, you don't use headphones. Um, not great. That said, I am playing on full speed. If you run it on like balanced or quiet mode, you probably have a lot lower fan noise. I haven't tested the full fan, done the full stress test on this machine yet. Overall, Should you buy the X17? I don't think there's any necessarily like standout deal breakers unless you're very CPU bound, gaming heavy focus, in which case you should get the 360 hertz version display of the laptop, because then you'll get the full performance for sure. I really wish they had launched a QHD 240 hertz display. I would probably be more inclined to keep the laptop if they had that option with Advanced Optimus. It's definitely CPU bound. Yeah, Valorant's definitely CPU bound. What's my take on the Max Q card and the X15? You're definitely going to lose some performance going with the X15 for sure. I saw on YouTube someone push the Valorant to 300 FPS with undervolt on the 11800H. Yeah, you can definitely get more of FPS and Valorant with some kind of optimization, but it's Valorant side. I don't know. There's probably some game setting or INI file that you have to change or something. LOL, are you returning the laptop? I'm either returning or reselling it. If I don't keep it, is it laptop of the year? I think for certain people, this laptop may be laptop of the year still. I think it's got the potential if you're someone that really wants high CPU performance. This is right up there with right up at the top, the peak, the pinnacle of potential CPU performance in a laptop. Can this support 2 to 3 external monitors? Yes, it can, Boston. We've got several display outs on the back you could use. Okay, so that's it for the live stream, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this overview benchmarking live stream helpful, hit the like button. I will see you in the next one. Brandon out. Okay. Solomon says, Brandon, sorry for requesting. Scar has the 5900HX or the 5800H. I've got the 5900HX in my Scar 15. Watch my review on the Scar 15. I do talk about the maximum CPU watts in a combined load. I think it's 54 watts, Solomon. But yeah, I go over that in my Scar 15 review. So just go check that out on my channel. All right, have a good night, everyone. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.